Hello and welcome to this review of Codex Genestealer Cults, which GW have very kindly sent me free of charge to review for your reviewing pleasure. So, what is the format of this going to be? It's not, those of you familiar with the channel, it's going to be a lot of it's going to be narrative focused. It's going to be a bit of a ramble. It's not going to be tight and focused, and I should put my phone on mute. I'm going to basically sit here with the book and start flicking through it start to finish, give you my thoughts, bit of description about what's in, go through some of the rules, some of the stats, but not in a thoroughly detailed way. If you want thoroughly detailed, there are loads of other content creators out there who will do a much better job of that than me. So, without further ado, let's steal some genes. Like I'm raiding Primarch or something. Okay, so what have we got? So obviously we start at the front. There's a lot of lore. Well, there's lore. A couple of pages on the cults being the vanguard of the Tyranids. There's a half page on a bit of history. The Imperium first encountering the Genestealers as a separate organism. Then there's a section on the Genestealer curse from a sort of how it threatens the Imperium point of view. A couple of pages on that. Then another page on, I don't know really what you'd call this. I mean, it talked about how the Patriarch sort of spreads his... It talks about surprise war, the method of warfare. Couple of 2 pages, little narrative story. Then an uprising Chalnath, which is presumably related to one of the Warzone books that are coming up. Then we have a few pages on what the individual units are and the like. So the hidden threat is the title of this particular page. It talks about Neophyte Hybrids, Jackals, Brood Brothers. It's quite nice in that it goes into the 3rd and 4th generation Genestealers being the ones that are most valuable to the Patriarch because he can use them to infiltrate things. So this is about how these guys do the infiltration. So Neophyte Hybrids are dedicated foot soldiers. The 3rd generation ones are the ones that heft the heavy tools. The 4th generation ones are the ones that are superhuman looking, with maybe just a little bit of a bumpy forehead. Jackals. It talks about how the Atlan class vehicles being very common on virtually every Imperial world, and they often get used as sort of runners, beast herders, scouts, messengers. They're pretty common, so they can do their nefarious stuff. If I keep glancing out the window, it's because snow has started, and it keeps drawing my attention when a big bit drops past. Then the Brood Brothers, about going and subverting the Imperial Guard. There's a section nicely entitled "The Deformed and Deranged." Bit of detail about 1st and 2nd generation, so Acolyte Hybrids, hybrid metamorphs, and the fact that as soon as they start to, when the Hive fleet gets closer and it feels it's getting close to the gene court, it starts sending out a sort of psychic pulse that triggers latent genes to go, you need to become more warlike, so grow some claws or whips or tentacles or something. And so some of the hybrids will start to mutate, and then they get worshipped by the others. So it's kind of cool. Aberrants and abominants, something went wrong, but we can use them. Then there's a few pages about the individual agents of the cult. So there are relatively few sort of base units in the book. A lot of the ifs and buts and the wibbly bits are with all the various non-HQ characters or the agents, and what the different ones do. There's a section of martial leaders, which talks about the Primus, the Nexus, the Kellamorph, vectors of the Broodmind. So the Magus, the Clavicus, the Clamas. What is a Clavicus? I feel I need to look that up before I carry on, otherwise I may have said something inadvertent. 1 minute. Talk amongst yourselves. Okay, that hasn't come up instantly as anything weird. I have one of those moments where you say a word and you think, I'm sure that means something. What does that mean? What have I accidentally said? Yeah. The Clamorvus. I don't read very well. My brain sometimes is wibbly with the order of things. The Clamorvus. Then the Shadow Operatives, the Reductus Saboteur, the Sanctus, the Locus. So the Reductus Saboteur, obviously, is new. Talks about it's a 3rd generation hybrid that is distilled of all the cult's accumulated knowledge of explosives and destructive engineering, and they spend like years just sitting and tinkering with stuff, trying to make bombs out of things. What happens if I put this in that? And oh, that's good. And then, yeah, on the day of the uprising, it's the Reductus Saboteur's job to blow stuff up, damage infrastructure, and all that good stuff. Then the Sanctus and the Locus, so a sort of assassins, bodyguards. We then have references to Vigilus, a couple of vignettes on a Vigilus page. Rampant Infestation. So this is a bit of narrative about different, not specific cults, but on sort of a bit like the consequences of infiltration. So what it actually says at the top. Many Imperial worlds have already fallen to Genestealer cults, while some of these were soon consumed by Tyranid splinter fleets. Others have become origin points of covert interplanetary infestation, or even open military conquests. In this way, some cults take to the stars to spread the curse of their Patriarch's name. So this is sort of about how, when a cult gets to a certain size, they start shipping broods of pure strain Genestealers out. And when, like, fleet-based cults dock in places, they sort of scuttle one inside to go and lurk. Yeah, we're stuck to the space station. Go sick 'em, Frodo. I meant Fido. I've just watched the Lord of the Rings trilogy. And for the record, if you're trying to paint Genestealers and you think the Lord of the Rings trilogy is a good idea to put on in the background, if you're me, it's a bad idea, because I did about 9 hours of watching and about 2 hours of painting. I digress. Then there's a page each on the various different cults. I mean, the way they've gone with the narrative is the various cults try and grow on other planets. So this is one bit that I'm not 100% bought into. The notion that by, let's say, for example, the Cult of the Four-Armed Emperor, which is a particular flavour of Genestealers, it's a particular cult, that by shipping a Genestealer off-world, a Cult of the Four-Armed Emperor with exactly the same ethos and choice of coloured garments, but that's what they do. That is what they do. They send Genestealers off, and the cults grow larger. So yeah, there's a section on the Cult of the Four-Armed Emperor, the Hive Cult, they who take up the gun against the tyrant, the Bladed Cog, man, machine, and alien in glorious unity, the Rusted Claw, When all else rots, the cult alone will survive. The pauper princes. From great sacrifice comes immortality. The Twisted Helix. They who swallowed the bitterest pill. Then we've got minor cults. Then we're on to pretty pictures. Lots of pretty pictures of lots of pretty models in really nice scenic settings. Lots of really nice pictures. And we're now into the rules. Rule time. Okay, so there's an awful lot of verbiage here designed to be specific for match play. We'll try and cut through some of that. Okay, the Sect Rule. You can only include a maximum of one of each Genestealer Cults character in the detachment. So you can't take 3 Sanctuses. You can take 1 in a detachment. It also means that you've got if you've got a Patriarch, a Magus, and a Primus, they're your 3 HQs. You couldn't take 2 Primuses, for example, or 2 Patriarchs, because that would be really super wrong, narratively speaking. It also says for every character for every HQ character, you can take a non-HQ character without taking up a battlefield, without taking up a slot in your detachment. So there's half a dozen extra characters, and that would fill up all your slots straight away, not leaving much room for other elite things. So if you take your main 3, you basically get 3. If you take your Patriarch, your Magus, and your Magus, and your Primus, you can then take 3 others without taking a slot up. Cult Creed. Oh, this is you use your cult special rules, natch. So then we come on to the Brood Brother rule. So what in the previous codex, there were a number of, for want of a better phrase, Imperial Guard units in the codex that were, I guess, represented the fairly common guard stuff, and there were also some rules that say you can actually take an entire guard detachment if you want to, with a few rule tweaks here and there. And this is how you tweak the rules in order to include those. What they've done in this codex is they've done away with all of the guard stuff in the codex. So there's no Brood Brother squad, no Brood Brother heavy weapon squad, no Brood Sentinel, no Brood Chimera, no Brood Layman Russ. I think that was it. So they aren't in the codex. Instead, what you've got is this set of rules, which essentially says you can take an Imperial Guard detachment with units that have got the regiment keyword, and they gain the brood. It swaps around some keywords, so they basically become Brood Brothers, and their regiment becomes loyal to the cult, which is +2 leadership, and they also gain the unquestioning loyalty ability, which is the Genestealer rule later on in the book. What this does mean, and it does cut down on what units can be taken, but for narrative reasons I like this rule. Because it says you can only take units with the regiment keyword, it means you can't take, for example, a Commissar or a Sanctioned Psyker, because they don't have the... Does a Sanctioned Psyker have that keyword? I don't think it does, but I didn't actually check. Because they don't have those regimental keywords. From a narrative point of view, that makes sense, right? The Commissars have all come through the Scroll of Progenium and through the Officio Perfectoris, And you'd like to think they'd have been gene scanned at various points in their upbringing / career. Similarly with the Imperial Navy, I can make more or less of an argument for. The Aeronautica Imperialis is a separate organisation that does get screened. However, your local Aeronautica, your sort of PDF equivalent ones, are I'm going to imagine easy to infiltrate on the planet. I don't really know. But I like the way you can't take scions. I like the way you can't take commissars. I like the way you are restricted in basically you can just subvert the local troops that are on the planet you're on, or the ship ratings on the vessel that thou livest on. Okay. So, then a bit about the cults. Warlord traits and so on, but that it talks about them, but then doesn't do anything with them. Okay, so we then have, in the style of the 9th Ed Codices, all of the Cult of the Four-Armed Emperor stuff's on one page. So the Cult Creed, the Warlord Trait, the Stratagem, Relics, Psychic Powers, and so on. So I'm not going to go through absolutely every one of these. But the Cult Creed is reroll charges for Four-Armed Emperor units. And every time a ranged attack is made more than 12 inches away, the unit counts as having light cover. Hailing from the Trist mining dynasty of the Ghostar Quintus, the Cult of the Four-Armed Emperor lie in wait beneath a host of planet surface before launching a long-panelled and planned and decisive ambush. Some of their number never see the light of day until the insurrection. When the moment comes, these troglodytes attack with speed and savagery. Warlord trait, inscrutable cunning. Once per battle round, you can use a Genestealer's strategic ploy stratagem or battle tactic stratagem if that stratagem is it's a discount on command points. Okay, the Hive Cult. Disciplined militants. The brothers and sisters of the Hive Cult are no strangers to war. They fight in tight-knit units, whether they hail from Hive Ganger culture or the military organisations of the Imperium. Each is well drilled in the use of sidearms as well as repurposed industrial tools, and in battle they attack with an uncanny discipline that sees them triumph against the odds. Units with this creed are eligible to shoot in a turn in which they fell back, but if they do so, it's -1 to hit. They can also perform actions in a turn they fell back. Yeah. It's good if you use actions. The Bladed Cog. Cyborgized Hybrids. The Cult of the Bladed Cog. It's a bit odd that the Adamec don't gene scan people. The Cult of the Bladed Cog proliferates amongst the disaffected labourers and brainwashed defence maniples of the Imperium's many forge worlds. These are they're lower level people. They don't warrant scanning. In perverting the technological marvels of the Omnissiah, they not only gain access to a ready flow of esoteric weapons of war, but also the means by which to pursue their ultimate quest. The Bladed Cog seek to fashion the ultimate warrior hybrids of brewed cursed flesh and engineered metal, and care not how many of the luckless faithful must be mangled and slain in order to achieve their insane ends. Models have a 6+ vulnerable save. Reroll 1 wound when you're doing an attack. Add 3 inches to the range of ranged weapons, excluding explosive type stuff like grenades. Right. The Rusted Claw. Nomadic survivalists. The wandering nomads of the Rusted Claw are hardened guerrilla warfare specialists, their degraded appearance belying leathery hides and stone-hard chitin. Skilled at covering rough terrain at speed, they favour swift assaults across multiple fronts, overwhelming their enemies from all sides, while shrugging off direct hits from weapons that should surely lay them low. Each time an attack, armor pen of 1 or 2 gets worsened by 1. So armor pen -1 is 0, armor pen -2 is -1. Counts as stationary if they have made a normal move. The Pauper Princes. Cult Creed, Devoted Zealots. Each time the cultists of the Pauper Princes are so zealous they would gladly hurl themselves on a live frag grenade to protect their leaders. When their organisation is threatened, they fight like madmen to pull down and slaughter those who challenge their ascendancy. Each time a model with this creed makes a melee attack, if that model charged, +1 to hit if you charged, etc. Ignore modifiers to combat attrition. The Twisted Helix. The Twisted Helix cultists excel in the art of insane alchemy and dark experimentation. Their neatly attired biophagous progenitors create monstrous hybrids of all sizes and shapes. Sorry, the computer's doing something weird. Hopefully you can still hear me and I'm not wasting my time. I think it's okay. I think. Their neatly attired biophagous progenitors create monstrous hybrids of all sizes and shapes, the energies of forbidden biochemical concoctions boiling through their veins to lend them uncanny strength, speed, and resilience. +1 strength, +1 move, a modified roll to wound of 1 or 2 always fails. Yeah, quite nice. I like that. Then we have something interesting. What we have here are the it's called the Myriad Cults. So it's all of the generic stuff for it's the build your own cult thing. Except what they've done this time, rather than in previous books where they've said pick any one of these or pick 2 of these or pick any 2, but if you pick this one, don't pick a second one. They've actually said on here, they've got a couple of pages of really different ones, and they've given them all points value. And they've said, your cult gets 4 points. Some of these things are 1 point each. You can have 4 1-point things as your cult ability. Or, there's a 4-point one, there are a couple of 3-pointers, and so on. So, for example, one of the 3-point ones, Impassioned. Each time a model with this creed makes a melee attack, if it made a charge, add +1 to hit. Deep Surprise, 2 points. Each time a unit with this creed is selected to choose a fight, you can reroll 1 wound when resolving that unit's attacks. Martial, 2 points. Each time a Crossfire infantry model with this creed makes a ranged attack, unless that model's unit has moved this turn, the target is treated as having a Crossfire marker. We'll come to that in a bit. 1-pointers. Synaptic Resonance. Each time a psychic test is taken for a unit with this creed, you can reroll any of the dice rolls of 1 or 2. Nice. If you're Psycho heavy. Alien Fury, also 1 point. Each time a unit with this creed powers and consolidates, it can move an additional inch. Nice. Okay. Then we have Stratagems. So we've got how many pages of Stratagems? 4 pages of Stratagems. Let's do 2 of each type, shall we? So this is a battle tactic. I'm picking these at random here. Rapid Advance. 1 command point. Using your movement phase. When a Genestealer, biker, or vehicle unit from your army advances, do not make an advance roll. Instead, you move an extra 6 inches. What have we got here? Monstrous Vigor. 1 or 2 CP. It's for aberrants or abhorrents. Unmodified wound rolls of 1, 2 or 3 fail. Nice. It's 1 point if it's 5 or fewer models, or 2 points if it's more. What else we got? Actually, I'll do a couple. Right, Epic Deeds. Devoted Crew. Use this stratagem in your command phase. Select 1 Genestealer Cult vehicle model from your army. Until the start of your next command phase, this model is considered to have its full wounds remaining for the purposes of determining what characteristics on its profile to use. So, if it's got a hole through its engine block, the fact that the crew really want to succeed means it's fine. I don't like that. The power of the machine spirit I can get, but these are meant to be rugged, patched up civilian vehicles. Gestalt Consciousness. Use the stratagem in your psychic phase. Oh, I like this. 1 command point. When selecting a unit to be affected by the psychic power, you can select a cult unit anywhere on the battlefield. You can select 1 friendly unit anywhere in the battlefield, brackets, that does not have to be visible to the psyker or within any specific range. Oh, right, okay, so it's basically saying you've basically got unlimited range. It's just pick your unit and do it. That's how I'm reading that. Right, what else? We've got Strategic Ploy. Lurk in the Shadows, 2 command points. Use the stratagem to start your opponent's shooting phase. Select 1 Genestealer infantry unit from your army. Until the end of that phase, each time an enemy model shoots. If it's right, okay, so you can't shoot if it's not the closest. What else we got? Roaming Engagement. Use the stratagem, also 2 CP, in the shooting phase after making attacks with an Atalan or Achilles Ridge-runner unit from your army. The unit can make a normal move up to 7 inches if it was your movement phase. Okay, so hit and run. I don't mean hit and run, I mean fire and fade. Not eligible to charge with. They do, in the 9th Ed Codices, seem to be taking some of the nice stratagems from various other codices, giving them a new name, and then just sprinkling them into all the codices, so everyone gets Power of the Machine Spirit. Everyone gets something like this. The Genestealers are a difficult one because you can partially argue that it's not all alien and psychic stuff, therefore you can do anything you want. But then you can also argue that it's all civilian equipment with a very small number of military bits smattered in. So actually the tech side of it should be pretty low. Okay, so what's this one then? Summoned Familiar, Wargear Stratagems. Only 3 Wargear Stratagems, so I do one of these. Select one Genestealer Cults model from your army that's equipped with a Psychic Familiar, or Alchemicus Familiar that's already used it. You can use it again. Okay, then so going on from Stratagems, there's we're then on to the upgrades page. So it's called Proficient Planning. You can give them to units, so they're not sort of character upgrades, they're unit upgrades. They're all in the region of 10 to 20 points. So let's do a couple. A Trap Sprung. When this unit is set up as reinforcements as a result of being underground, come to that later. To the end of the turn, each time you make a charge roll for this unit, roll 1 additional dice and discard 1 of the dice. Nice. Our time is 9. The first time this unit is selected to fight in this battle, until the fight is resolved, add 1 to the attack characteristic of the models in the unit. This is not cumulative with something else. Warlord Traits. Shadow Stalker, +1 to hit. Alien Majesty, +3 to the range of the Warlord's aura, +3 to the range of any of the following abilities they have, if any. Meticulous Planner, Priority Target, Jackal. Broodmind Discipline. Psychic Stimulus. Friendly unit within 18 inches. Is eligible to shoot even if we're advanced or far back. Or no penalty for firing assault weapons. Psionic Blast. Casting value of 5, 18 inch range, visible to the Psyker. This makes no. I'm obviously not reading it right because this isn't making any sense to me. For the purposes of selecting that enemy unit, unless the enemy unit is within engagement range of this Psyker, the Lookout Sir rule applies as if the psychic power was a raised weapon. Okay, but shouldn't that be a core rule? That's weird. And also about 5 lines too much to actually write, word-wise. So anyway, it's basically a smite, does D3 mortal wounds, and then if the psychic test result was better than the unit's leadership, it's 3 mortal wounds instead of D3. I thought it was going to be an extra 3. Oh, okay. Nah. Okay. I mean, yeah. Psionic Blast, Psychic Onslaught. Doesn't seem terribly different to Smite. Seems a bit. Not sure about that. Relics. The Dagger of Swift Sacrifice. Model with a Magus Bio Dagger or Sanctus Bio Dagger only. Reroll 1 wound. Okay. Select one enemy model that's lost any wounds after the model has fought, but was not destroyed. On a d6, roll a d6 and a 3+ suffers d3 mortal wounds. Okay. The Oppressor's Bane is an auto pistol. Bearer gains Crossfire and the Crossfire keyword. Pistol 3, Strength 4, -2 damage, 15 inch range. Each time an attack is made with this weapon, the target is treated as having a Crossfire marker and being exposed. Okay, quite nice. quite nice pew pew machine. Then we've got secondary objectives, battlefield supremacy, score 1 victory point at the end of the turn for each of the following that applies. You have more models in your opponent's deployment zone than he does. You have more models in your deployment zone than they do. You have more models in the battlefield that are not within either deployment zone than they do. All of the 3 bullet points apply. So if you've totally swarmed the whole battlefield, you get 4 points a turn. There's a couple of others. I'm going to skip over the Crusade rules altogether because I wouldn't know what I was looking at. Right, now we're into data sheets and rules and stuff. Abilities. Conceal. If a unit has Conceal, during deployment you can set this unit up in ambush instead of setting it up in the battlefield. If this unit was an infantry or biker unit, you can set it up underground instead of setting it up on the battlefield or in ambush. So ambush, basically when you set the model up, you use a marker instead to set it up. It's a deployment marker within your deployment zone. You get this sheet of markers with it. That also a deployment markers on that side and crossfire tokens on that side for if you need crossfire tokens. Which you might. Okay, underground. If this unit is underground, then it's in the reinforcement step of one of your movement phases. You can set this unit up under one of the following conditions. You can set it up anywhere in the battlefield that is more than 8 inches away from enemy models, or you can set it up on the battlefield anywhere that is more than 6 inches away from enemy models, but you are not then eligible to charge. So you can get Genestealer Cults can get closer. I don't know if this indicates all of the deep striking stuff switching to 8 inches and 6 inches in this way, or if it's just a Genestealer thing. I hope it's just a Genestealer thing. It would fit nicely with what they're all about. If a unit sets up underground, any ability that are used in your command phase, then the first time they're set up on the battlefield, they can use all of those abilities. So just because your strategic genius isn't on the battlefield, he is in fact controlling the battlefield, so the first time you put them on the table, even though the command phase has already gone, you can use their abilities in that turn as if it were the command phase. Revealing ambush markers. If you have the first turn, you must reveal all your ambush markers at the start of your command phase. If you deck with the first turn, you must reveal them all at the end of your opponent's movement phase. They don't get to see where you are until they've moved. Revealing an ambush marker, I think this is fairly self-explanatory. One model within 1 inch of the centre of the ambush marker, wholly within your deployment zone and more than 9 inches away from enemy models. That. Oh no, hang on. Set up other remaining models that are wholly within 6 inches of the first model, with wholly within your deployment zone and not more than 9 inches away from enemy models. So you can't use it to get sneaky close to your opponents. Although, I guess if your opponents are really fast, they could stop you revealing an ambush marker. If you had, I don't know, Eldar Reaver jet bikes that zips across the battlefield and basically sit on a marker, by the wording of these rules, you wouldn't be able to reveal it. That feels wrong. I'd reveal them. I'd put them down. I'd put them down and go, "Hey, what was over here? Nothing. Oh, heck!" That's what happens when you're impetuously close to Genestealers. You get Genestealers in the face. Of course, it does still give you the advantage of not having to decide which units are where on the battlefield until later on. Obviously, other than the ones you actually deploy. Unquestioning loyalty. Each time a saving throw is failed for a character, you can select another model within 3 inches, roll a d6, add 1 to the result if the character you're rolling about is the Patriarch, and a 4 plus the damage is passed to that character, that model instead. So they will throw themselves bodily in front of the characters. Okay, Crossfire. So this is a fundamental shooty rule that applies to a lot of the cult stuff. There's also a thing about you can't use these rules if too much of your army is taken from the Imperial Guard, which, not sure about. I guess that's there to stop you taking like half a dozen Lehman Russ tanks and then using it's presumably there to stop you doing very powerful lists. Anyway, so a crossfire marker. If you are firing at an enemy with a crossfire unit and all of the shots target the same unit, if you score 5 or more attacks to get a hit, if 5 or more of those attacks hit, or 1 or more with a damage characteristic more than 1 scores a hit, then you put a crossfire marker on that unit. So any subsequent come on brain, what's wrong with you? Any other crossfire unit that shoots at that unit after it's got a marker on it get +1 to hit. If it was exposed, I'll say that in a minute, +1 to wound. If it's exposed and within 12 inches, it doesn't get the benefit of cover. So, you take a crossfire unit, you shoot at an enemy unit, you score 5 hits, that unit gets a crossfire marker. Any other crossfire units then shoot at that same target unit, get +1 to hit. And if it was exposed, come on to it in a minute, you also get +1 to wound, and if you're close enough, you can take away their cover. So exposed basically means if you've got a crossfire unit either side of the target unit. So, what can I hold up? Maybe not. So, right, so this is... Let's see if we can do this with my head, right? And lobsters being the cult units. So, if this... I will make this work. I will make this work. This isn't stupid. If the red lobster is shooting at my head, then it is not, my head is not exposed, because the other unit is not, the shots don't draw a line through my head to get to this other unit. That made no sense. Basically, if you've got one unit on either side and you can draw a line through my head to get to the other unit, it's exposed. Exposed, 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 exposed. Not exposed. I don't think if I'd sat down beforehand and contrived the least effective way of explaining that, I don't think I could have come up with it. There's a picture here. I'll show you the picture. I'm sure it's been up on the GW interwebs. You see? Makes much more sense than lobsters. Okay, I think I'm just gonna move on from that that debacle. Oh, this is possibly the most farcical video I've ever filmed. Good going. Summon the Cult is another special rule. Each time a Neophyte unit from your army summons the Cult, and there are circumstances under which you can summon the Cult, some of which we'll touch on. A Neophyte army, when it summons the Cult, D6 destroyed models can be added back to the unit. Any other unit that summons the Cult gets D3 models going back to it. With a maximum of 6 per turn for a Neophyte unit and 3 per turn for a non-Neophyte unit. So you can keep... They keep radioing for... Well, they just keep pouring out of the undergroundness. So I went for my appointment at the sleep clinic last night, and they gave me a new sleep machine. And it doesn't work as well as my last one. I don't know if there's a problem with it, but I basically don't feel like I've slept. Which is my excuse for being such... Yeah. Okay, so Patriarch. I mean, this guy is monstrous. 2+ to hit, 6 attacks, strength 5, -3 AP, 2 damage. One thing they have done in here is the Genestealers, they don't just rend on a 6+, they just have a flat additional... Where's it gone? Genestealer Hybrids, the AP is -3. I like. And obviously so is the Patriarchs, except he's got 2 damage. On a wound roll of 6, the AP characteristic goes to -6, and the damage increases to 3. He is brick. Swift and Deadly can charge even if it's advanced. 4+ invulnerable save. Living Idle. Cult units ignore combat attrition when within 6 inches of him. Acolyte Hybrids. So these have changed a bit. They're now Strength 4 and Toughness 4. So they're basically Marines with a 5+. Well, no, they're only tough on wound, but Toughness 4 is big. It's fairly big. The Cult icon, so your standard bearer, that's what allows you to summon the Cult each turn. So in the command phase, you just add, in this case, D3 models back in. I think it's 20 points for that. So you have to pay for it, but nice. Neophyte Hybrids, I don't think they've changed too much. As I said, pure range Genestealers, they're now weapon skill 2+. Strength 4, Toughness 4, 4 attacks with AP of 3. Swift and Deadly, they're eligible to declare a charge in a turn that they've advanced. Pure Strain Reflexes have a 4+ invulnerable save. Pure Strain Genestealers are back, and I like it. Aberrants, they've... Before they had... like double-handed hammers, and they had heavy hammers and normal hammers that were different. They've now just got heavy power weapons as their overall thing. They've still got the improvised weapon in there, which allows damage to overflow to other models. But other than that, these appear to be the 3 wounds. I think there were 2 wounds before. The Abominant is no longer an HQ, it's now an elite, alongside the Aberrants. It still buffs the aberrants. Sanctus. Now, Sanctus is interesting. Well, I say interesting. 2+ to hit, 4 attacks. With his Sanctus Bio Dagger, his strength 1, damage 1. Each time the bearer fights, he makes 1 additional attack with this weapon, so 5 attacks. Each time an attack is made with this weapon against a unit, an unmodified wound roll of 3+, if it inflicts 1 mortal wound to the target and the sequence ends. You see that mechanic a lot in Age of Sigmar. I don't know if this is a sign that we'll see it a lot more in 40k. But basically 3+ to wound, and it's just straight through. Cloaked Assassin. Enemy model cannot target this model with ranged attacks unless they're within 12 inches of it. -1 to hit even if they do. That's quite nice. Right, the Reductus Saboteur. So, the Reductus Saboteur has a plant explosives action. Starting your command phase, it finishes the end of your movement phase. You put the Reductus explosive marker within 1 inch of this model. And then if that model gets killed, you remove the explosive marker because they're not there to set it off. And at the end of the movement phase or your opponent's charge phase, if any enemy models within 3 inches of your explosive marker, you can use this ability. Roll a d6 for each model within 3 inches of that marker, adding 2 to the result if the model being rolled for is a biker, monster, or a vehicle. On a 4+, it suffers 1 mortal wound, or 4 mortal wounds if that model is a monster or vehicle, which you roll for every model within 3 inches from the battlefield. Big Bob. So you can put that. You can put this one on objective, put an explosive on it, and then disappear off, waiting for them to come around the corner and get to the objective, and then blow it up. At the end of their movement phase. Yes. Atlan Jaguars. One of the things they've done with the Jackals is, anyone familiar with the kit will know there's a lot of different weapon options, and they're all sort of like auto pistol, shotgun, this, that, the other. They've removed those as individual things, and they've said they're now covered by Atlan Small Arms, which is a pistol 2, 12-inch range, strength 4, AP dash weapon. Just make it simpler. Makes it simpler. Goliath Rock Grinder. Okay. So, the Goliath Rock Grinder is strength 7, 10 wounds, with a save of 3+. This mining car is harder to kill than a Space Marine Dreadnought. Because you might think, oh yeah, but a Dreadnought's got Duty Eternal. Rugged construction. Each time an attack is allocated to this model, subtract 1 from the damage characteristic of the attack to a minimum of 1. This mining car is harder to kill than a Space Marine Dreadnought. That's not okay. That's not okay. It has 6 attacks. With its drill dozer blade, it is strength 8, -2 AP, 2 damage. If it made a charge move, it gets 2 additional attacks. That's hitting on a 3+. Same as a Dreadnought. Strength 8, -2, 2 damage, 8 attacks. I think at this point, it's best I move on. Oh, and then there's another thing. There's another thing here. There's a new classification of industrial weapons. Now, there are a bunch of rules that say You can do this with industrial weapons, do that with industrial weapons. The list is Outline Incinerator, Outline Power Weapon, Blasting Charges, Demolition Charges, Incinerator, Dozer Blades, Mining Lasers, Rock Cutters, Drills, Saws, etc. I can't... As we went through, I didn't see anything that said X, Y, or Z with industrial weapons. There is stuff in here. I saw it in my first read through. It's probably in the stratagems. But not jumping out in the keywords. It wasn't anything major. I don't recall. Okay, so anything particularly interesting about the points? Patriarch's 140 points, as you'd expect. Aberrants 30 points each. Pure Strain Genestealers 14 points each. Genestealers, oh yes. Now I can see Genestealer Cults having Genestealers in. Hooray! Yeah, there we go. I think I'm going to quit with this video whilst I'm very much behind. Overall impression of the book, overall I like it. It's got a lot of the niggles I've got with it are general, applied not just this book, but generally lots of different things in 9th edition. So I'm not going to complain about them in this book too much. But on the whole, it feels like it's got the nice surprise attack ragtag element to it, with some hideous alien beasts in there. Feels about right to me. So yeah, I'm looking forward to trying it out. When this video goes out, assuming I've been able to sleep this evening, there should be a battle report going up with this new book fairly soon, either on the same day or maybe a little bit later. I'm not sure. The plan was to have them out on the same day. I don't know now. Yes, so I hope that was useful. I hope it made more sense listening to it than it did whilst I was saying it. And I apologise for everything I've missed and overlooked. And yeah, I'm just going to end it there. Alright, thanks folks. See you in the next one. Bye.